Hello. Well, Aristoteles was 20 when Plato was 60, and Aristoteles was Plato's best student. And from 335 before Christ until his death, Aristoteles was teaching in Athens. But before that, he had been the private teacher of Alexander the Great. Well, in fact, Aristotle has just started to teach. He has founded the first Lyceum. In that way, we can improve society as a whole. He has described how the universe around us um, is ordered with everything having an aim. He has taught us who we are, what our ethics are, how our political system should be, how society must be, which virtues we need to have. He has represented everything so logical that everybody believed him. About one thing he didn't do. He did not ever mention the Greek gods. We have only a part of his writings, but still this part is very extensive and uh, also copied endlessly. 323 before Christ. Alexander, Alexander the Great, he has conquered a territory which includes Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Israel, and Egypt, until in 323 before Christ he died of malaria. He didn't fight much, but he has brought to these territories the Hellenic philosophy and architecture. In Alexandria, he had built a big library where the most interesting Greek texts were preserved. He took care that there was good communication in the empire so that directors knew what was going on. Good roads were constructed, and there was a fair tax system. Later, the Romans just took over this business, this territory, the Eastern Roman Empire. They just took it over. Alexander had plans to conquer the Arabian Peninsula, but that hasn't happened because suddenly, in 323 before Christ, he died of malaria. 306 before Christ. Epicurus was a young man when Aristoteles was old. Epicurus, he wanted to free the humans from their fear for the gods. According to him, the gods existed, of course, but they didn't care about life on earth. They didn't care about what humans were doing. So, by improving lust and avoiding not having lust, people could have a happy life. One should prefer practical wisdom of life above now knowledge and well, ideas and all these things, and things you learn in school, practical knowledge. In fact, he proposed a totally different philosophy than the one of Plato and Aristoteles. But he advised to keep that philosophy hidden. And, well, you don't have to be afraid of that, according to Epicurus, because the dead is outside of the human experience. Epicurus, he had a very nice garden in Athens where it was very, very pleasant to stay. All of his writings have been lost, but centuries later, his thoughts are represented by, for instance, the Roman poet Horatius. In 270 before Christ, Epicurus died. He became 72 years old. A few decennia uh, before that, in 335 before Christ, Greece was conquered by Alexander the Great, but he spared Athens because that was the most important intellectual center of the region, and it was the home of his childhood teacher Aristoteles. 200 before Christ. Hannibal was born in Carthago. That's a city of Tunisia, in Tunisia, and it was an empire which also had the Spanish coasts. It was an empire of traders around the Mediterranean Sea, and representative for these seagoing traders was that they used the same writing. And this writing was based on letters. This empire did feel the pressure from Rome. Between them were the islands of Sicily and Sardinia, and those islands were picked by Rome, and well, Carthago came under pressure to punish Rome. So they sent several generals, like Hannibal, who has been to Italy, and well, it was around 200 before Christ, but he did not destroy Rome. He went back to Carthago because Carthago at that time was attacked. But the Roman politician Cato, he ended all his speeches in the Senate of Rome with saying that he was of the opinion that Carthago should be destroyed. In 146 before Christ, the Romans have completely destroyed Carthago, um, really, really made it equal with ground level, and they sold the population as slaves. From then on, Carthago just became a Roman province, and from then on, Rome could grow without any threat, and finally to say that the Mediterranean Sea was their sea. But in the west of Europe were no Romans yet. That would happen later. 60 before Christ, Julius, he became a consul of northern Italy and the Provence in France region in 60 before Christ. And then he changed from a politician to a general. He went fighting in France against the Helvetii from Switzerland. 3 years later, he conquered Belgium, then Normandy, then he went to the Rhine. Of the 12 million galleons, he has killed 1 million. When he come back to Rome, he wanted to be celebrated as a big conqueror and to be elected. But other politicians, they blocked him from having this parade of victory. So he decided to do a coup d'etat and to declare instead of the power with the Roman Senate, to declare an empire and that he would be the emperor. 5 years later, somebody stuck him dead. 43 before Christ. Marcus was a Roman senator at the time of the murder of Julius Caesar. And he was against the power of an emperor, and he wanted that the power would be with the Senate. But his resistance to the new emperor failed, and um, well, afterwards, Mark um, has translated much Greek literature into Latin, and so he has contributed to the spread of Greek culture and thinking. Finally, in 43 before Christ, he was arrested, and against the soldier who came to kill him, Mark said, "There is nothing good about what you come to do with me, but when you do it perfectly and right." Well, that was Cicero. And then in the year zero, Jesus was born. Well, there are many stories about his life. We know them from the texts which have been written by his disciples. Those stories were put into writing during the centuries after his birth. And well, Jesus, he was thinking that God had created man and woman, and that was the reason why a man must leave his parents to bind himself to a wife. So man and wife become one, and what God has united, a human cannot separate. Jesus said that you should not look for treasures on earth because that is, it gets dirty, those treasures, and thieves come to steal them. You must collect treasures in heaven, there they are safe. The Old Testament, of course, existed already when Jesus was born. It was already extensively studied, and in the centuries after the death of Jesus, the New Testament has been written. The year 260. Plotinus, he makes a distinction. The eternal, highest good is separate from all contradictions. The eternal, highest good is perfect in rest, but we shall never understand something of it. But this highest good radiates, and in that way comes to existence several spheres of existence. The ghost, the Holy Ghost, is the sphere of existence which is the closest to the highest eternal good. Matter is the farthest away from that highest good. Between those spheres is the spheres of existence of the soul. And there, with the soul, is the difference between the world soul and the individual soul. Plotinus was born in Egypt. He came to Rome around 245. Until his death 25 years later, he has been teaching a lot. The emperor of Rome liked Plotinus. He was favorable to him. Well, it's exciting that almost 2000 years later, we are still talking about the soul of things. Well, the origin of that can be found here with Plotinos, the soul of things.